The wind is dying down, the temps are dropping, and there may be frost near the Cameron Peak fire overnight. That is such good news for firefighters battling what has become the largest wildfire in Colorado history.
Fire managers say it's grown to more than 158,000 acres. That's almost 250 square miles. Today, the high winds moved that Cameron fire east, closer to Fort Collins, forcing hundreds of people to leave home and head to shelters. Canyon Lakes rangers say some structures have been impacted today. A little bit difficult to sort through the firefighters speak on that, so we don't know what exactly burned in the Cameron Peak fire. Pictures and video from northern Colorado show the massive smoke plume, kind of an apocalyptic look. Smoke was so heavy, at times it seemed like dusk during the day up at Colorado State.
Time-lapse videos from Estes Park shows just how active that fire was today. Smoke billowed over the mountains all along the Front Range, and one of the striking images showed a herd of elk with massive smoke plumes right behind them. The evacuations from the fire stretch from State Forest State Park all the way to Horsetooth Reservoir, just west of Fort Collins. The black on the map you see there, that shows what's burned so far. The red is for mandatory evacuations, which now include Laurie State Park and Horsetooth Mountain. The yellow you see, those are voluntary evacuations. Tonight, we have team coverage on the firefighters' plans and info on evacuation shelters for people who had to leave their home behind.
9 News reporter Jennifer Meckles joins us on the phone. She's up at an evacuation roadblock near Horsetooth Reservoir. Jenny, you were able to talk to some of those evacuees.
Yes, I was. And Kyle and Alex, you guys are talking about Horsetooth Reservoir. That's a great way to tell where I am tonight. Just on the southern edge of the reservoir is where one of these roadblocks begins. West County Road 38E is what the map tells me they're calling it. But this is one area where a lot of people who had to leave their homes today were passing, and where sheriff's deputies with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office are not letting people back in, only really on a case-by-case basis for the folks who need to get things and then get back out again. Let's look at that evacuation map one more time. We've already been walked through. We know the red is the mandatory evacuation zones. Yellow is voluntary, but among the list of mandatory zones, we've got Horsetooth Mountain Park, Bobcat Ridge Natural Area, several little towns in this area. We've got Masonville. We've got Laurie State Park on this list. A lot of people who are told they need to leave today. And the people we've talked to said they're only in and out to move animals, cars, and get what they need to leave their homes. We saw a lot of that kind of activity today. I'm talking about animal trailers, people in their mobile homes, boats being moved out of the area, and a lot of people checking the latest information when they get to a gas station and have a chance to check their phone. And for many of the people we talked to today, it is not the first time they've had to evacuate from this fire, and many of them have been living with this fire threat for 2 months now.
Last time we were very lucky because that's when we got that snowfall up there, and we got about 6 inches of snow, and I think that's why we were able to go back so soon. This time there's no moisture in the forecast and just wind, and so I'm a little more unnerved this time, a little more nervous because there's nothing in sight that might stop it.
It feels like an apocalyptic, like Blade Runner, you know? I mean, this morning when I woke up, it felt really ominous, and that's when I knew, like, maybe today is the day that I'm gonna have to move the bus. So, and I'm glad I did.
One question we don't have the answer to yet is exactly how many people live in the mandatory evacuation zone. That's a question I'm asking tonight. Just don't have an answer yet. But we know that the American Red Cross is very busy helping people that have come to them looking for a place to stay. They're using several hotels across northern Colorado for shelters tonight. At last check, about 7:30 this evening, Red Cross tells us they had 5 non-congregate shelter sites. So those are essentially places people can get their own rooms, sheltering at least 230 people. And of that 230, at least 130 were new clients as of today. Red Cross is asking people to give them a call if they are in need of shelter tonight. I believe we should have that phone number up on your screen. If not, we'll make sure it's up on our website as well. A lot of people tonight trying to get out of this area. And you heard them, guys, mention this wind. My colleague Jordan Chavez is reporting from Loveland area tonight, where there are other shelters in place, and he's been talking to Incident Command about fighting this fire.
Yeah, Jenny, we are actually outside the Embassy Suites here in Loveland, which is one of those spots where evacuees are coming. And it's also home base for the Incident Command team, where there are still people inside tonight hard at work, their jobs made tougher because of the strong wind that swept through this area earlier today. A spokesperson for the Incident Command Team says that in some parts of the state, particularly near CSU's Mountain Campus, gusts reach up to 76 miles per hour. That wind, however, has now moved out of the area, but it's left some pretty big impact in its wake. For starters, it hindered resources to fight this fire. The Incident Command Team says they weren't able to put up any air support today because of strong gusts and how strong they were. And perhaps the biggest impact from all of this is how much it dried the area out as the wind passed through. Things already weren't looking too good because of how low humidity levels have been recently. And when you add these strong gusts to the mix, it just dries out those fuels like the trees, the grasses, the shrubs even more.
Essentially, with the high winds, the super dry fuels, I mean, when I say super, they are one example that our fire behavior analyst gave us. You imagine your arm right here, and this is one size of the fuels. This size fuel is actually so bone dry, it is like paper, and you know how fast and easily paper burns. So that's an example of how dry it is out there.
Now, despite the lack of air support, we are told there were still at least around 20 crews on the ground fighting this fire. Earlier this evening, South Metro Fire Rescue said that they were sending an additional crew this evening to help that would be here for about the next 72 hours. The big thing within the last several hours is that the temperatures have really dropped here tonight, but we are told that won't really help, Kathy. What we're still waiting for in the forecast is some significant moisture, Kathy.
We're all waiting on that, Jordan. Thank you so much for that report.